Would you just give us kind of like maybe a summary of everything that has gone on and that is going on? How did you end up in jail? What's going on now with your case? What's this new trial coming up? And what do people need to know about it?
I taught high school math and science for 15 years, moved to Pensacola in 1989, and shortly thereafter began a ministry teaching on creation versus evolution. I take the position that the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and the earth is only 6,000 years old, and God made it in 6 days, just like He said He did, which means dinosaurs lived with man. 1996, the IRS began sending me letters and investigating, and I answered all their letters. I don't know of anything I did wrong with the IRS, and it's all spelled out on the freekenthovind.com with all the letters I sent and everything. Finally, I got arrested and taken to prison, and it was a trial. I thought you're supposed to when you're innocent, and was given a 10-year sentence back in November of 2006. I was supposed to go home 2 weeks ago, but now they have a new charge against me called, one is contempt of court, another is, I forget what all the legal terminology of the charges are, but they're saying I filed a lis pendens, a litigation is pending on the property, so they want to accuse me of mail fraud. Mail fraud. That carries a 20-year sentence for mail fraud. It is insane. Each one of these charges, they're all listed up there on Free Kent Hovind. There's another website people can follow called 2peter3.com. The number 2, the word Peter, and the number 3, based on 2 Peter 3 in the Bible, that deals with all these issues. So if somebody wants to get up to speed. But basically, I go to trial again Monday. Okay. I'm trying to defend myself against these folks. And I think they're the lawbreakers, and they took the church property based on structured funds, which is just absolutely bizarre. And people have got to call Congress and say, look, repeal that stupid law, make it retroactive, let everybody out of prison and jail for structuring, and return all their money, and pay them $1 million a year for damages for putting them in jail. It is just crazy. This case is a classic example of some major problems in our judicial system. And I've asked people to demand that Congress do a full, open investigation and have me come testify. I have nothing to hide. So that's basically why I'm sitting here in Santa Rosa County Jail right next to Pensacola, Florida.
Okay. Have you heard from jail or from prison about all the IRS scandals right now surrounding the structuring and the targeting of conservatives and Christians? Are you aware of everything that's going on in the outside world as far as the IRS is concerned?
No, I only get bits and pieces in here. I'm very limited. I don't get to catch much news in here. I only get what people out there tell me. But I'm glad to hear there is an investigation going on. There needs to be. I heard the IRS apologize and said we're not going to use structuring to seize property anymore. And I said, well, that's good, but that's not an apology.
Yeah, I guess you're still sitting in prison for that, huh?
Well, it's not only that. For them to say we're going to change our policy does nobody any good, because they can change their policy back tomorrow. Congress needs to change the law. And make it retroactive and pay back all the damages.
Yeah, this law, I guess, originally was designed for, if I understand correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was designed for kind of drug dealers and, mafia types and that kind of stuff. I wonder, do you think Congress had, evangelists and people like yourself in mind when they passed this law?
No, I don't think they had very much in mind, period, when they passed any law, it seems to me, so maybe that's the problem. You better think it through. What are you doing? We've got more God's law will fit in one book, but I can carry it with 2 fingers.
Okay.
And Congress's law wouldn't fit in this room. That it is. It's not the number of laws. A guy wrote a book called 3 Felonies a Day. There are so many laws passed now that the average American commits 3 felonies every day. They don't even know it. In Russia, they've done this for years. You pass so many convoluted, complex, contradictory laws that everybody's a criminal, and all they got to do is go arrest you for something. What I had done in the 1999, or 98, 99, 2000, during that time frame, our ministry in Pensacola was expanding, buying several neighborhood properties that had older houses on them and were remodeling them for staff houses. And so we went with cash. It was a lot easier to hand a college student $500 and say, go buy shingles for this house or go buy plywood or whatever. Or just bring back the receipt, rather than give everybody credit cards. 2003, we stopped doing that. Because my wife was going about every 2 weeks out to the bank, and it started off about $1,000 a week, and then $2,000 a week, and then it got up to $9,500 a week, every 2 weeks. And the pastor had said, try not to go over $10,000 because they got to fill out some forms. Okay, but I don't care if they fill out their form. The bank has to fill out a form, not me. And so 2003 we stopped. Got a couple credit cards and everybody's happy. Well, 2006, they come with a SWAT team and arrest my wife and I for structuring. My wife is sound asleep in bed. She'd just been asleep for 3 hours. They dragged her out of bed, wouldn't let her get dressed, put a robe on her, go to the bathroom. She's 5 feet tall, little grandma, godly woman, and piano teacher. Harmless, never would hurt a flea. Take her down to the courthouse, handcuffed in her nightgown, would not let her put her robe on or go to the bathroom. Just, I would say, plain evil. I can't think of a better word for it. Evil. Malicious. They hauled me down there. We're both down there at the courthouse, and they said we were being charged with 45 counts of structuring. What on earth is structuring? Well, you took your own money out of your bank in amounts less than $10,000. Okay. That's a crime. Yep. You're trying to avoid the reporting requirement. I don't care about your stupid the requirement's not on me, it's on the bank, for heaven's sake. Let the bank do it. Every time you take out a penny, they can fill out a form if you want. I don't care. Anyway, so then we went to trial. My attorney said, don't even give a defense. There's no crime here. Everybody can see that. So then at the end of the trial, they changed your instructions to say, if you find the Hovind took out less than $10,000, you got to find him guilty. When the law says more than $10,000, 2 or more transactions in one day of over $10,000. Well, that never happened. So anyway, all this is up on 2 Peter 3 and on freekenthovind.com and all the documents and everything. It is just crazy. To make it worse, after trial, they said, no, all that money that was structured, we want forfeited to the government. This is legitimate church money earned in legitimate ways, spent on legitimate bills, and there's no crime at all. So then they said, yep, no trial, no hearing, no nothing. Yep, you can seize this money. So now I owe the government, supposedly, $430,000 over these several years' worth of money taken out. Well, they found out I don't own anything, so they said, we want to seize the church ministry property in lieu of getting it out of Kent Hovind. So then they say, now you owe $430,000, and we're going to seize the church property. So they've been going through the steps to seize the church property. The U.S. attorney, one of them in our case, went down to seize the church bank account, and a few weeks later he flew to Detroit to have sex with a 5-year-old and got arrested and hung himself in his prison cell up in Detroit. And all that's up on 2 Peter 3 also. So I'm going through all the proper legal steps to prevent them from seizing the church property. I'm trying everything I can. And I filed what's called a litigation pending. It says, hey, don't sell it yet. The litigation is still pending. Don't sell that property. Now, if you want to buy the property, just be aware that there's still litigation going and it might overturn all this. And that's what they want to. Then they're now accusing me of mail fraud and obstructing justice and all kinds of stuff. A total of 100 years in prison is possible. He's been found guilty of these charges, which the trial starts Monday. I would encourage folks to become very knowledgeable about it. And the only weapons Gideon had were light and noise. Shine the light and make a lot of noise. And the enemy started fighting each other. That's exactly what I want. I want the Justice Department and the Treasury Department and Congress to get in a big old fight, duke it out, and I want to go home and go back to preaching about creation and evolution and leave me alone. So I hope they duke it out. But I want to be out of it. I just want everybody to know the truth that happened. I did not commit a crime at any stage along this way, for the initial trial or for this trial. They want to make me look like the bad guy. They want to, polish their reputation at my expense. And they probably will win. But not without the world knowing what happened, and that they are the criminals, not me.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of your supporters. I wrote an article about your case, I think maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And so I wanted to ask you about 2 things in particular. The first one, your supporters tell me that they think you're being persecuted for being, an effective voice for creationism and for Scripture. And so what do you think? Are you being persecuted? Is the government here going after you because of your views? Or, would any Joe Schmo who had allegedly done what you allegedly did, would the same thing be happening to them?
Well, the government will never say that or admit that. I mean, if you look down through history, people were persecuted. It's always for something other than the real truth. Like, why did Hitler kill the Jews? Well, he called it racial impurity or something like that. They always had a cover-up story for why they did what they did. Look at Jesus. What was he arrested for? why do they have to call in false witnesses anyway to testify against Jesus? It's always the same. So no, yes, I definitely agree. This is persecution because of my Christian beliefs. But they will never say that nor admit that. No, it's all about taxes. Nothing to do with church. Nothing to do with religion. I can tell you right now what they'll say. So, but I would say they're either lying or confused. It's not true. This case is purely persecution. Typical tax case, a person gets 14 months in prison. I have served 100 months in prison as of Monday morning.
Let's talk for a minute about your trial that's coming up now. Some of your supporters have sent me emails indicating that the prosecution is trying to prevent you from saying anything about, say, jury nullification and the ongoing scandals with the IRS targeting conservative groups and Christians and that kind of stuff, and also the abuse of the structuring law. Do you know what's going on with that? Are they putting a gag order on your attorney, and what's happening with that?
They already have. Prosecution put in motion saying we don't want these following things discussed, and the judge granted those. So there are certain things that my attorney is not supposed to bring up, which I agree is basically to prevent people from hearing the whole truth. They're going to make me swear to tell the whole truth, and then they're going to prevent me from telling the whole truth. So there's little chance of winning in the courtroom, but there's a great chance of winning in public opinion. It was perfectly legal to have slaves in the South back in the 1850s. It doesn't mean it was right. It doesn't mean it was moral, but it was legal and lawful. Well, it was still wrong, and we ought to make war to get that overturned. Okay, it is absolutely wrong what they're doing in this case, and there needs to be a public outcry. And Congress is the one to fix this. They passed the stupid law. They're handing these U.S. prosecutors the club to beat people with. They handed the IRS the club. Here, go beat people. Why don't you shut down the IRS? Send them back to Puerto Rico. Just close them down. It's a Puerto Rican collection agency, and they have a legitimate function. But this is crazy. What have we created here? At least cut their budget down to like 5% of their current budget. They spent almost $500,000 prosecuting me on this case. Who knows what they spent on the last one? Where's this money coming from? Why do they have time to do this? Don't they have anything else to do? Am I that big of a threat? A science teacher who's teaching about the Bible? And I guess it is that big of a threat. It must be. I don't know. I've been in prison for 100 months over.
Okay, a lot of your supporters have also raised concerns about, the prosecution and even the judge. I mean, I've gotten so many emails telling me that, they think that the judge in your case is really biased against Christians, and she called you, the head of a criminal organization, I guess was the, evangelism ministry, and said that your crime was supposed to be worse than rape, and I guess she tried to put some school officials into jail or prison over praying at an athletic event or something, and then I think 60 members of Congress had to intervene, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think about the judge, if I can ask? Does she have an anti-Christian bias, or what's really going on here?
I don't know. It sure seems to be, but that's for Congress to judge. See, Congress, they're supposed to impeach judges that don't govern according to good behavior. Federal judges are appointed for life during good behavior. Well, what if they don't behave good? Well, then you impeach them. It's happened a few times through history, not nearly enough. But yeah, that's not my job to judge the judge, but it is Congress's job, and they should get those same 60 congressmen and maybe a couple of hundred more and investigate. That's all I'm asking for. A complete, open, fair investigation. If she's anti-Christian, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. She seems to be an incredibly intelligent woman. As far as what her religious bias is, I have no clue. But this case, I think, clearly needs to be completely investigated. Why would anybody object to that?
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.